Welcome back. Thank you for watching. Here's part 2, 20 more movies. Oops, I did mean to record this last week, but I forgot, so here we go. This movie is very interesting, and the story is intriguing, and I believe that Yabanik from a year ago would have given this a B or an A. However, being more realistic, I acknowledge the at times lazy execution and wasted potential of the movie. The execution is okay at best, and this truly has no distinct directorial stamp. The only redeeming quality is the action, and overall, the acting and directing is half-assed, and the movie went on for 30 minutes longer than it should have. This short 30-minute long film is quite amazing. The ambition and utilization of still images to create a circular and quite outright eerie story is a testament to the broad scope of cinema. This is where 12 Monkeys was adapted from, and I have a lot to say about that movie, but this is not the time. Otherwise, this is a great movie and I would recommend it to anybody. If you go back to the most rewatchable podcast, you can see me beating myself up a bit for not completing the entire Rush Hour trilogy. However, here we go. Now, while repetitive, I find Rush Hour 2 to be the most entertaining of the trilogy. In my opinion, it has the best villain, and the Chris Tucker, Jackie Chan dynamic is even stronger than ever. Of course, the movie is not as original as the first, and the emotional attempts don't really hit the same notes, but it is just as fun and arguably funnier.
You! Who? Do you understand the words that are coming out from my mouth?
Don't nobody understand the words that are coming out of your mouth, man.
I can definitely understand why others appreciate this movie, yet the director's style and the overall plot did not land for me. Whereas in other films the ambition outdoes the lackluster or plain boring stories, this is not the case here. To be truthful, if it was not for the compelling third act and Chris Tucker's spot-on imitation of Prince 300 years from now, The Fifth Element would be the lowest ranked movie here.
All night long. All night long. All night. Ooh.
Returning to Once Upon a Time, I have much more appreciation for Tarantino's ninth entry. I definitely saw this movie as one of his lesser works on my first viewing, but on a rewatch, the minute details are much more evident and Pitt's performance distinguished itself as the most entertaining from 2019. I considered giving this movie at a 9-star rating, but compared to his other works, it doesn't fare at that level. This is one of the most underrated action movies of the last 5 years. Even though I like Venom, Upgrade did the getting your body taken over by an outside force better, and in the same year too. The editing and cinematography gives you a video game feel and truly gets you in the state of mind of the main character. I promise you, this movie is worth your time. It's worth a viewing, and while I don't advocate for unplanned sequels, I wouldn't mind Upgrade 2, or Upgraded, or Downgrade, or Next Level, or Upgrade Level 2, or Degrade, or... After 3 straight Spider-Man movies, I moved on to Edgar Wright. I love apocalyptic, and even more, I love zombie movies, and Edgar Wright creeps his way into the top 10 of my zombie movies list with Shaun of the Dead. The comedic timing, in-your-face editing, and dedication to film really stands out and gives this movie the rewatchability factor. Even though this is not the best film in his body of work, it is tied with The World's End as my favorite Wright movie. Still, it is pretty clear that it is Wright's earlier work and he goes on to do better things.
Yeah, boy!
Everything I said about Inception in part 1 of this 2-part series applies here. I understand a lot of the criticism that the movie gets, yet Interstellar has a special place for me. It is my favorite space exploration movie, and while not the best Nolan film, it is the most motivated. The emotional attempts land for me, the visuals are undoubtedly stunning, and the score is one of Hans Zimmer's best. Everything from the villain to the ending is monotonous, yet it's still funny.
Oh, man. Who are you?
You.
No, not me, you.
Yes, I am you.
Just answer the damn questions. Who are you?
I have told you.
Are you deaf?
No, you is blind.
I'm not blind, you blind.
That is what I just said.
Speaking for myself, I've never gotten into the Back to the Future franchise, and I will probably revisit it sometime in the near future, but it's never landed to me on an entertainment level. The third act is definitely my favorite of the franchise, but they do begin to gear towards Endgame and Return of the King level overstuffing in the end. The action scenes are still amazing. They don't carry the same punch since Hamilton's unique editing no longer has the originality. Even further, the plot and villain are pretty nonsensical. Nevertheless, I am looking forward to The Kingsman, and usually do like prequels more than sequels, so it does have a lot going for it. Being directed by Greg Mottola, the guy behind Paul and Superbad, I had pretty high expectations. Needless to say, this movie was a disappointment. I genuinely would not recommend this movie to anybody. In theory, a story about a suburban couple whose neighborhood is infiltrated by spies doesn't sound bad, but the execution is horridly boring. The only redeeming quality is, well, the Joneses. They're the only characters I find tolerable in the movie, and that says a lot given that they're written to be obnoxious. It has a horrible screenplay, and this is a huge waste of talent. This is another movie that I have been wanting to watch since its release in 2014, but the long wait didn't end up paying off here. Other than the absolute absurdity of the science and the plot, the action isn't as good as it should be. The editing seems to be random, and it is pretty clear that Johansson and Freeman are just trying to get over with the movie, which leads to boring performances. At this point, Luc Besson is becoming one of the most underperforming directors, with both Lucy and The Fifth Element, and I am really hoping that Leon the Professional holds up. Worthwhile documentary from Michael Moore with a viable message and some nicely placed satirical comedy. I absolutely love this. It may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I've admired The Lonely Island since 5th grade and consider Andy Samberg to be the best comedic actor right now. This movie quickly made it into my top 10 comedies of all time, and I am ready to watch it again. It's so uniquely made, and the comedy and talent present in the movie is rarely seen nowadays. It just works for me. There is nothing I can say about this movie that hasn't already been stated by somebody before. But before I do move on, I want to point out that I have really realized Scorsese's efficient utilization of time in his films. This might be why The Irishman is a movie that many are split on. Throughout his films, Martin often tackles a character's life in a 2 to 3 hour span, and he does this so efficiently that you are immersed into the story and time becomes irrelevant. Last week, I talked about The Wolf of Wall Street, and I am continuously astonished that it is a 3-hour-long movie. But Goodfellas also does an impeccable job with timing, as the movie went by before I knew it.
There's a wing! What do you like, the leg of the wing?
About 3 years ago, I began Silence of the Lambs with my dad, but we had to leave about 10 minutes into the movie, and I found what I saw to be pretty boring at the time, so I decided not to return. However, coming back to this story a week ago, I had an unexpectedly intense experience. All I have to say for now is this is one of my top 3 apocalyptic movies of all time. As always, thank you so much for watching. Comment down below if you have any grievances, like if you enjoyed, and consider subscribing. For a ranking of all 50 movies, go check out my Instagram page. Peace.